world appears before you, a now decrepit land, shell of its former self. Guided only by hope and the mysterious voice of the narrator, you, the mute protagonist known only as the Kid, set off with your trusty hammer. Your mission is simple: repairing hope. Repairing the only hope left for the survivors of the Calamity, known only as the Bastion. Bastion is a game made by indie company Supergiant Games, published in 2011. In this fantasy story-driven RPG, you must collect special shards known as cores from all over the world to power the Bastion, an old-world shelter of sorts built to save the survivors of a cataclysmic event known only as the Calamity. For gamers looking for an artistic, action-packed RPG with simplistic leveling yet difficult skill-based gameplay, you should stop right now and give Bastion a shot. Although it's not on the level of being unable to talk about like such games as Undertale, much of the drive behind this game is story-based. I won't be delving too far into it, but I will be providing minor story beat spoilers. To put it plainly, Bastion in my eyes is a masterpiece of game design, and a gold standard to the potential and impact well-crafted games can have. It excels in almost every imaginable area, to its ambient setting and environment, fantastic music and sound design, and especially in its combat. Mechanics and plot points in Bastion are vast and complex, yet not confronting, and are explained extremely effectively. The highlight for Bastion for me is definitely in its writing, characters and stories alike. Harking back to the whole "you should play it before I spoil it," Bastion carries such weight not only in its dialogue but in its world. The scenery as it appears before you is crafted with the player in mind to exemplify the experience of exploring it. Mind you, much of the lore of the world is optional, hidden through conversations and subtly in its environment. However, the rate at which information is delivered really hits that golden ratio dead on of introducing questions and concepts while answering them at a good rate. It compels the player to continue in order to find out more about the world before them. Bastion's voice acting and sound design for 99% of the story is just one person, but fortunately it nails the theme and matches the rhythm of the game perfectly, and I do mean that in a literal sense, as the narrator reacts to your actions with sometimes hilarious detail.
They say even the most rambunctious squirts can be tamed.
This style of narration is the most unique thing about Bastion from a technical standpoint, and it attributes greatly to the player's immersion into the world of Caledonia, the Ura, and everything in between. All of this talk about effective storytelling is great, however we do play games for more than that, and I am ecstatic to say that Bastion doesn't skip out on combat one bit. The action in the game is all about defeating enemies with an emphasis on countering attacks and moving around the battlefield quickly. By the use of special skills, players must time and plan ahead to their own melody through the orchestra of enemies. While some enemy types can be particularly annoying, you quickly learn better way of dealing with these new targets. To complement this, new weapons and skills are introduced at a relatively constant rate throughout the whole game. Additionally, as you level up, new slots for tonics become available, i.e. this game's version of passive perks. And on top of all of that, your weapons can be upgraded by finding appropriate materials throughout your missions, making them stronger for the more challenging final missions. For someone who is more experienced with these types of games, the use of the shrine allows you to make the journey more challenging. For most of the game, I had these gods provoked, which provides additional benefits, but it really brings the game up to a whole new level of fun and challenge. On top of that, the game makes use of levels known as proving grounds to test your ability with certain weapons. These are by far the hardest thing in the game, but the rewards they provide are immense, especially the first prizes. The depth and variety of weapons combined with the additional challenge ensures that you don't become complacent at any point during the campaign, and keeps the combat fun and engaging. Every few levels there is a new variable imposed, and it's this constant reinvention of the combat formula which keeps you entertained up until the end of the game. This is my third time playing Bastion, and my first on PC, and it hasn't lost any of its appeal or polish even in 2020. I think one of the things that makes Bastion such a great game to reflect on is that it doesn't overstay its welcome at all. Depending on how much of the game you want to complete, the campaign can last anywhere from 3 to 10 hours, and every minute of that is filled with something to fight or something to upgrade, something to challenge you, or even something to intrigue you. It doesn't have really any down moments that bore you at all, which is fantastic. However, one of the things I personally didn't expect impacting me as much is the ending. It really challenges you on a moral level about your decisions at the end. Don't go in expecting everything you do to matter, but there are technically 4 endings to strive for. And this is one of those cases where there isn't a true or best ending, it's more a personal preference and where you stand. But thanks to the level of immersion this game puts you in, it's still really emotional to see what happens to the characters of the world who we have spent the whole game fighting for. In short, this game is a must play for anyone even remotely interested in good story, good characters and good gameplay. All of it put together, along with the challenging difficulty of one elects, makes this one of the best games in my book of all time. If you're not careful, Bastion is a game that you will start and probably finish in the same day, but the journey it takes you on is something of a life experience which I cannot recommend highly enough.